Today, I'm going into the woods, and specifically into Witham Hill Natural Park here in Corvallis. So this is a neighborhood park, and its trail is under a mile, but as we will see, it's quite a big park for how small it is, including to the point where there are cougars here. So even though this is a suburban area, there's houses around, cougars are still seen here, mostly on accident. Like, the cougars don't want to be close to people either. But there are cougars here. Hopefully today I will not get eaten by a cougar. So this is the path into the park, and we'll be going uphill with some zigzags. And luckily I will have a good amount of shade in this park. This part of the forest is mostly smaller trees, deciduous trees. Even these bigger trees are still smaller compared to like an old growth forest. So this has this pleasant, dappling effect. Still light here, but this also means that you can grow a lot of invasive plants here. So here we have a lot of invasive Himalayan Blackberry. And that's just kind of part and parcel of Oregon, is that anywhere you don't have full shade, and lots of places you do, invasive plants can come in very quickly. That looks like that could be Scotch broom or something in the Scotch broom family. Queen Anne's lace, of course. So a lot of invasive plants in a place like this. A lot of native plants. Here we have the understory of the Western sword fern. That's just part and parcel of things. I've certainly seen worse examples of invasive plants. And I do like the nice shaded but still kind of sunny understory I have now. We also have here some type of dragonfly or damselfly. Looks like a damselfly because of the way the wings are folded. A lot of them out today fluttering around, and I'm glad that this one is sitting still. I'd be interested to know what niche they're in. We're not too close to water, which is usually where damsel and dragonflies are found. But maybe it's damp enough that they can still find things to predate on here. Not sure what species or type this is, but I do like them. So here, where we have an open meadow, this might be natural, this might have been created artificially. Maybe they took down trees to encourage this, or could just be natural. And here the invasive plants are even worse, where we have ragwort, a lot of tall Himalayan blackberries, and there we have Scotch broom, a legume, very invasive and very common. We have oxeye daisies, which are the tall daisies. And then we have some other things, including, I believe that is poison ivy, poison oak. Don't really want to find out. And then the one native plant we have a lot of here, and it's kind of growing between the other plants, is we have some type of hawthorn. And here it's growing just kind of as a scrubby little plant, battling its way through the undergrowth. And I don't know if this is a separate species of hawthorn here, or if this is just what a hawthorn tree looks like when it's young, and when it and they are trying to get some room for themselves. That's a question I don't know, but there is a lot of hawthorn here growing in this meadow, maybe trying to turn it into forest. Well, trying to turn it into forest, anthropomorphizing it. And so here we have a larger hawthorn bush. And again, I don't know if these are a different species or if this is just a phenotypical variation. Anyway, here we separate the upper loop from the lower loop. So we're going to continue on to the upper loop, and this might bring us to more shade. This is another plant, very common in the area. Native, but also can be invasive in that it grows quickly and rapidly and in disturbed areas, but we don't mind because this is Melissa, also called lemon balm, and the leaves smell like Fruit Loops, and they taste pretty good too. So this is a common plant, and also grows in a lot of habitats. It tends to prefer swampy places and stream beds, but here we're in like kind of a dry upland forest, but it doesn't care. It's going to grow here too. So apparently I've reached the upper loop. Like I said, the trails in this park are only a mile long together, but there's like 3 loops. It's like a snowman or maybe a Cantorian trans infinitude or something. And even though there's not that much, because there are 3 loops, it's actually possible to get lost here. And the first time I came here, I did kind of get lost. Interestingly enough, you know, I've lived here for almost 2 years now. September will be 2 years here. And I came to this park my first complete day here. And then I came again a couple weeks later, and since then, I have not been here. And that's kind of, you know, you don't know what you have until it's gone. After a while, I just kind of got blind to the attractions of Corvallis because I've been more around Oregon. But it's nice to come back here because there's a lot to see. Even though it's, I guess, not that big. I mean, it's really just a suburban park, but a lot to experience here. And here we have what looks to be a maple seedling on the forest floor. And maple is one of the major plants in Oregon that forms the overstory. In most places, the forests have a pine overstory, and here it's mixed, deciduous and coniferous. You can see a large maple tree there, or larger. And even though maple is a predominant plant, it is hard for it to get a hold in a shaded forest floor. So there's a lot of seedlings and most of them will not make it. So we have here wild rose. There's about 1,000 species of rose, maybe 100, maybe a few thousand. Botanists fight about it forever. And next to it, we have a hawthorn. And both of these are in the rose family. Rose is in the rose family, shocking. Hawthorn is in the rose family, and they probably have very similar niches as far as where they grow and how they grow. And here we have trailing blackberry, which is also in the rose family. So you have a couple of species like this, and a couple more. The invasive Himalayan blackberry, you have apples. Here is another hawthorn. And I'm not always sure if they have different strategies because they seem to grow in the same place and they seem to coexist. So they're kind of, the rose family makes the major contribution to the understory in a lot of Oregon forests, and a lot of forests in other temperate regions, but especially here, I think. This is Oregon grape. Distinctive because it has these leaves that are very shiny and they're in a pinnately compound form. A lot like rose leaves, only bigger and shiny. This is also a really prevalent understory plant in Oregon forests. Really in a lot of niches. It's, you know, a pretty hardy plant and is pretty diverse. Also used as a gardening plant. So that's another thing that you're going to see a lot of in Oregon forests, whether it's deep in the forest or in a park like this. So I would be curious to know more about this because, as you can see, we have here a pine forest, medium growth pine forest. Then we have this kind of grassy area here, and in my mind, usually when you have a pine forest like this, it has a closed canopy and you don't actually have grasses growing on the ground. So this might have been thinned or otherwise disturbed or groomed to the point where you have grass growing on the forest floor, where normally, like if I go to a more natural forest, it's going to be have an understory pretty much of ferns, too shaded for you know, leafy plants. So I would be interested to know the answer to that. I talked a little bit about this when I went to Crystal Loop, but one problem with forests like this and trails like this looks like a trail. It looks like a trail, but I don't know if this is an official trail, a kept trail, if it goes somewhere, or if this is just a path that like the local kids have like made through the woods. And like I said, sometimes I can be walking along a trail like this and it seems fine, and then I look around me and realize I'm wading around in a bog, which I don't like because it's a lot of work. My socks get burrs in them, and also it can be disruptive to, you know, erode trails like that. But this looks like this is a real trail, so I'm going to continue to follow it. And I seem to have reached the end of the park, and there's a fence, and there's a gap in the fence, and over there's some type of power lines. This is private land or city land that's not developed. So being a good neighbor, I'm going to turn around and return to the park. And I really did, like I said, the trail did just kind of disappear here. So I'm going to go and try to find the real trail somewhere in that direction. So this is a little almost dry stream bed or transient stream bed in the woods. And see there's some raccoon tracks. Could be some other things because it's kind of hard to tell, but that looks like raccoons because it's little hand-shaped tracks, a front track and a back track, and then that could be a little baby track, or that could be apophenia. And so anytime you have a place like this, there are a lot of raccoons here. They are shy. They mostly come out at night, but it's easy to see their prints in the mud if you know what you're looking for. There's also a lot of mosquitoes swarming around there. Mosquitoes aren't a big problem in Oregon compared to other places, but I'm still going to move on before they start smelling me and try to find my way out of here. About this forest being a neighborhood park, I was just wandering around. It felt like I was in the woods, and then I took a turn, and as you can see, this exit leads to this housing development here. And also, as we get closer to, you know, these exits near houses and stuff, there's more chance to see invasive plants. Like here, we have a bed of ivy. These directions don't actually make much sense to me. I think the pointing to this, the upper loop is the way I just came from, and the lower loop is straight ahead, but not the clearest directions. And the middle loop, I guess, is what I'm on, or what this is. And what is in this direction? I'm going to see if this direction is a direction to take. Okay, this direction just led back to the apartment complex a little further on. And I could take it and just walk back on the road, but that would be kind of cheating. This is a wrong warp, and I'm not theft bling. So, yeah, let's go back and loop the loop some more. Yep, still a little confused on which way to go, but I am going to go forward. Interesting point, it is a sunny but not too hot Friday in July, and I haven't seen anybody here. Maybe I saw some people at the entrance, but I don't think I've passed anybody as I've walked around. Maybe because people who are really into going to outdoor places are, you know, at the beach or on Mary's Peak on a sunny Friday in July. So I haven't seen this bench before, so I know I am not walking in circles. Maybe I'll sit down and get a little hydrated. Another note about today, it's probably 25 Celsius, 80 Fahrenheit outside, and maybe 20 Celsius, 70 Fahrenheit in the shade. So a really nice day to be here. There's also a light breeze even in the woods. And the fact that I can go out in July and not be too hot, and the fact that there's facilities like that, parks like this is why I like Oregon, and this is why I like Corvallis. Although it does look like the adventure might be drawing to a close soon. So this is Witham Hill Natural Area, just on the western edge of Corvallis. And there was a lot more I wanted to see. I kind of wanted to take pictures of even more trees. And there was also some wildlife, but you know, small birds, small mammals that I didn't quite get to capture because, you know, they're not posing for the camera. And hopefully I didn't make this too long. There was just so much stuff I wanted to talk about, even though, you know, here we are at the entrance. This is just a little loop in the town. There's a lot to see though when you look.